Hey guys, this is Jimmy Davis here, and this is my third attempt at recording this update. Hopefully this will work this time. The first time I tried recording it on my iPhone, and that wouldn't upload for some reason, and I have Windows, so I can't just hook it up to my computer and transfer it. And the second time I was recording it with my birds in the room. I now have two more birds to keep Guanum company, and that was too noisy even for me to handle 20 minutes of an update for that, so I figured I should just scrap that and just try it one more time. But I guess this time around I actually know more or less what I need to say, so maybe I can make it a bit more condensed, hopefully. But anyway, a few things I want to point out. Well, first thing that I want to point out right off the bat is my profile picture, since that's what you're going to be seeing here. This is just audio with the picture. Since I cut my hair, well, I shaved my hair actually a week ago. Shaved my entire head, everything from the neck up except the eyebrows, of course. And quite a few people actually have asked me, if I'm going to change my profile picture now to reflect the hair change. And short answer, no. I might change the profile picture sometime in the future, but I'm not changing it just because I shaved my hair. I plan on growing it back out, and it's not going to take quite as long as I think it seems like it would. Like if you look at my channel trailer that I made just a little over a week ago, I made that just a couple days, 2-3 days before I shaved my hair, because I knew I was going to shave my hair, so I wanted to do one more video before I did that. And if you look at my hair and beard in that video and compare it to the first video on this channel that I had my face in it, which is my first Q&A, which if you haven't watched that, you're not missing much. It's absolute shit. But if you compare my hair and beard between the two videos, they didn't really change much. Because hair kind of gets to a point where I don't know if it actually stops growing entirely or if it just kind of slows way down. But I know that like my hair, like I said, you can tell that my hair and beard didn't really change much. I think my beard, if anything, maybe got thicker, a little bit more hairs essentially growing out, because I couldn't grow a beard like just 5 years ago. So anyway, it's probably, based on what I can tell looking at old videos and old pictures, it'll be about 2 years max before my hair and beard are the way they were before. But so yeah, anyway, back to why I brought that up. I'm not changing my profile picture because I shaved my hair, but I might change it within the next couple of years. I don't know. Anyway, I just spent 3 minutes doing an intro, even though I already did this. Should have made that more condensed. Anyway, the main thing I want to talk about in this video is Patreon. Some of you might not know I have a Patreon. I imagine most of you do. I'll link to it below in the description. I think I've been doing that in my update videos since I got Patreon. And if I haven't, I'll be doing that from now on with like updates and stuff like that. I'll link to like my Twitter, Patreon, and the Poopcast YouTube channel, which I'll talk about Poopcast a little bit near the end, but right now I just want to talk about Patreon. I used to do rewards on Patreon with the sentence mix requests. I have 2 videos for that, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned in an update video at some point that I just decided to do away with sentence mix requests because they were way more work than I anticipated, and they were just kind of cutting into the time that I could have been spent working on like bigger YouTube poops and stuff like that. And I do want to try to do some sort of like a Patreon request compilation again some point in the future when I find the time, where I would just ask all of my Patreon supporters to give me a sentence along with a character to sentence mix that sentence into. But I just haven't found the time to do that yet. And then I mentioned more recently, I think I mentioned this on Patreon, in a Patreon post, that I had another idea for a reward where I would do like source requests, essentially, like have people pick out I think I was planning on doing it for like $5 a month or maybe $10 a month, where you would, if you were donating that, you could then give me a source and say that, tell me to make a YouTube poop out of that source. And I thought that was a good idea for a while, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that just seems like a bigger version of like the sentence mix requests, where I could very easily see, like especially at just $5 a month, I could very easily see people like a dozen people signing on for $5 a month and then giving me a source to use, and then after the first month just back out entirely, which would be nice for the month to get, $60 that way in 1 month. But then I would have 12 YouTube poops that I would have to make, feel obligated, or not even feel obligated, be obligated to make because I promised them. And then there'd be other things that, other issues with that. Like I imagine there'd be some sources that I just wouldn't be able to do much with, so it'd only be like a minute long or 2 minutes long, something like that. And then other sources I'd probably have a lot of fun working with and end up making like 5 or 10 minute long YouTube poop. And I imagine the people who got the 1 minute long YouTube poop would feel cheated or whatever. And it's just, the more I think about it, the more I realize it's just a bad idea, and I just need to not do that. So for what I'm doing right now then with Patreon is I'm just going to be treating that like a donation service. And I understand that some people are probably not going to appreciate that. If you're already donating to me on Patreon and you don't like the idea that you're not getting any rewards out of it, then I understand if you want to back out. It's totally fine. But I'm not going to abandon it entirely. I do want to try to do well, like for an example, I had the idea to start linking to like collab entries. Like when I enter a YTP collab and I have to keep the entry private until the collab is done, I could just link to that on Patreon, assuming the host of the collab is okay with some people seeing it ahead of time. And then you guys could get a chance, or anybody who's supporting me on Patreon could get the chance to view it early. Another idea I had for it, and this one, like I'm pretty much positive the collab entries, seeing those ahead of time, pretty much 100% positive I will be doing that. This next one I'm a little bit more unsure of, so just kind of consider this as more of an idea at this point. But I was thinking I could maybe do like previews for upcoming YTPs, or other projects like that. Like, for example, just yesterday I tweeted out like a short 20-second long clip from the sixth and final round of the tennis match between me and NP Carlsen, and I'm thinking maybe I could do something like that, like instead of doing that on Twitter, do that on Patreon. The only reason why I'm kind of hesitant to do that is because, as far as I'm aware, right now on Patreon you can't you can't post videos as their own post like you can on Twitter. On Patreon you can only link to like a YouTube video, so that would be kind of inconvenient to upload like a bunch of just random clips to YouTube that are unlisted only so I can link to them on Patreon. But it's not completely out of the question. That is still an idea. And I want to try to do something like maybe once a month, just kind of do like a short little update if people are interested in that on Patreon, where I just kind of like talk about some ideas that I had for upcoming projects, the progress on certain projects and stuff like that. I don't know. Basically, I don't want to abandon Patreon entirely, but I know that I can't focus a ton of time on Patreon because I've mentioned this before, I believe, maybe on a live stream or something like that, but I know for a fact I'm putting in like twice as much work into my YouTube channel, like the YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, all that stuff. I'm putting in like twice as much work into that stuff as I am my actual full-time job. And so it just becomes really stressful and kind of sucks the fun out of it if I try too hard to make everybody happy, and I just don't have the time to do that kind of stuff. So for the moment, Patreon rewards, I have no plans for doing any of those, but I do want to involve you guys on Patreon in some way. Like I said, with previews and advanced looks at collab entries and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I have to say about Patreon. I'll try to cover these next topics really quick, but I do have a couple other things I want to mention. I want to talk about upcoming projects that I'm working on. First thing that I want to mention, if you've watched my updates and live streams and stuff like that, you probably already know where this is going when I say that I mention this every update and live stream, and as well as like in every video's comment sections, I have to mention this at least like one time to one comment. But the King's Nostalgia Trip is not canceled. I'm not planning on canceling it. I am planning on finishing it. I just am not focusing all my time on that right now. It's not going to be the next video done, but it will be done eventually. And the main reason for this is just because I'm on, at the point I'm at in the King's Nostalgia Trip, I'm at a point where I have to do like a conversation between characters, and there's a lot of sentence mixing involved in that, and sentence mixing is a very tedious, time-consuming project, and or process, I mean, and so it's very easy to get burnt out on that, and I don't want to work on the King's Nostalgia Trip when I'm not feeling up to it, because then I know I'm going to be cutting corners and rushing things, and I want this to be the best thing, the best YouTube poop that I ever make, at least up to this point. Hopefully I'll be able to top it sometime in the future, but at the time of its upload, if it's not the best YouTube poop I've ever made, then I did something wrong. Although I'm sure some people don't really like story-based YTPs to begin with, but you know what I mean. So that's not canceled. It's not going to be canceled. It never will be canceled. The only way I would ever even considering canceling it is if something happened to my computer itself, and it just, like if my apartment burned down and my computer went with it, then I would probably not be able to finish it that way. But otherwise, as long as I'm able to do it, I will finish it. So, yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I do get people asking me all the time if it's canceled or not, and no, it's not. I need to make just, I think I mentioned this before as well, that I need to just make an update video, like, exclusively about the King's Nostalgia Trip, and just talk about where I'm at with it, and basically everything that I just mentioned right there, just so I can link to that for any time anybody has questions about it. Other thing I want to mention is that at the moment, kind of what I've been doing this month, the month of July, is I was working on, well, actually I started working on this project back when I first came back from my break. If you remember when I took that break in May, I think it was. I want to say it was May. I took like a 2-week break, and since I've been back, I was working on a YouTube poop for the experimental collab, the third experimental YTP collab, and unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it because I only have a few days before the deadline, and I still have quite a bit of work left to do with it. And I have another project that's due by the end of the month that is not a YTP project. It's a Shrek reanimated type of project. I mean, the movie's going to be recreated, and it's not going to be recreated entirely in animation, but from what I understand, it's mostly animated. Some parts are going to be live action or use puppets or whatever, so I don't know exactly what to call it, but I have a couple of clips for that or 3 clips for that I needed to reanimate, and I have 2 finished and 1 almost totally finished, and I have to get that one done before the end of the month as well, so I need to focus on that one more so than the experimental YTP, so I don't think I'm going to get that one done, unfortunately, so I spent the entire month, as well as last month, well, I didn't spend the whole time working on it, but you know what I mean. That's kind of what my focus of the last couple months have been, and unfortunately I'm not going to get it done in time for the collab. I'm still going to finish it, but like I said, I really doubt that I'll have it finished in time for the collab. I have, by the way, for the Shrek recreation thing that's happening, that's, I guess, I didn't realize this, but I guess it's, like when I talked about it in the past, I didn't realize it, but I guess it's kind of like supposed to be secret, sort of, 'cause it's kind of weird. Like the guy hosting it said, you know, I could tell people about it, but it's not advertised anywhere. They're gonna be showing it at this year's Shrek Fest in Madison, Wisconsin, in September. You can look it up if you want to. Me and Logan, a guy that loves pooping, are gonna be going there. So if you're in or around Wisconsin, you could go and we can meet up or whatever. But anyway, they're not advertising it anywhere. They're kind of making it a surprise for the festival. But I guess he said it's fine if I talk about it. I've seen other people on Twitter talk about it as well. So I forget what the point of what that rambling bit was supposed to be about. I kind of forgot. I wrote down the stuff I needed to say, but I didn't script anything because I don't really like it when people script updates and stuff because it just sounds so weird and fake and whatever. So I tried to try to do these off the top of my head, but I found in the past that it works best if I write down just kind of the main topics I need to cover. But yeah, just to sum up the Shrek thing, I need to get that done before the end of the month, so that's my main focus for the end of the month, or for the next few days of this month. And then after that, my next main focus will be the YTP tennis round, the finale of the YTP tennis match. Like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this. I've been recording this for 15 minutes now, and like I said, I recorded this 2 other times, and one of those times was just earlier today, so it's kind of getting mixed up in my head whether or not I talked about certain things. But I'm pretty sure I mentioned that I posted like a 20-second preview to Twitter. So you can find that if you want to. Just go to my Twitter account, which will be linked in the description as well, like I mentioned earlier. But that's going to be my next big project, is the finale of the tennis round, or tennis match, I mean. I haven't really been working on it much, even though it's been like 5 months now since the previous round was completed. But I made that short 20-second clip in just like an hour yesterday. So I think if I just give myself, I really don't want to set like a release date or anything like that. But I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if I managed to get it done next month. Again, like I said, that's not like a promise or anything like that. It's just I think I might be able to get it done in a month. I don't want to rush that one either. Since it's the finale of the tennis match, I want to make sure that one's good. But basically, since that one's not like a big story-based YTP like the King's Nostalgia Trip, I can just kind of do whatever with that one. So I have that one. That one, it probably won't be my next finished project, but it's going to be my next big project. When I do big projects, I tend to kind of get burnt out and want to do smaller things on the side. Something like the There Goes Puckman YTP that I did last month, I think it was, or whenever it was that I made that one. That one I made in just like a day. And so there'll probably be 1 or 2 of those types of YTPs within the next month or 2 before the tennis match is completed. I'm also hosting 2 YTP collabs. There's a public one based around my channel, the Goofy Kid, my old channel, the Goofy Kid Band, before I did YTPs. Since it's coming up on my 10-year anniversary of that channel next October, that's what that's for. I have a whole update video or announcement video for that you can find. Not getting a ton of entries for that one, but I didn't really expect it to be a huge turnout since it is a very self-indulgent YTP collab. It's more of just a way for me to celebrate 10 years on YouTube and invite you guys to join if you wanna as well. My YTP for that collab is going to be probably one of my bigger YTPs that I make, because I want to try to use all, if not most, of the videos that I have on that channel. So that's going to be a huge project, I imagine. I also have a private YTP collab. I'm not inviting anybody more to that collab, just so you know, because I already have everybody that I need for that collab. And even if a couple people drop out, I have a couple of other people in mind to invite if I end up having spaces open up. So I don't know for sure when that one's going to be done. It's about just a little over a third of the way finished in terms of the entries. But I think I cannot, unless the rest of the entries I get are absolute garbage, I think I can guarantee this is going to be the best collab that I upload to my channel, maybe even the best thing, period, that I upload to my channel. So I'm really looking forward to that. And last thing I should mention before I go, I know I've been going on for almost 20 minutes now, I'll try to wrap things up, is I want to mention Poopcast. For anybody who doesn't know, maybe there's some new people here, I have a podcast YTP, or not YTP, a podcast YouTube channel with my brother Logan, a guy that loves pooping. We host it's sort of like, the intention is to make it sort of like the H3 podcast, where it's sort of a bit of a conversation, bit of an interview, bit of just whatever we happen to talk about. But every episode we have a new YouTube pooper on that we talk to. Like I said, I'll link to that in the description. It's just Poopcast is what it's called. We're currently on break after we did it for a year, and then we decided to take a break. Break ended up being a little bit longer than I intended, but like I said, I'm sure you can gather from this video, I've had a lot on my plate, so I haven't really had the time to get back to get back to season 2 of Poopcast. We did have a guest lined up. We were going to record like the end of this month or the very first weekend of next month, but he kind of like stopped replying to my messages on Twitter, so I don't really know what happened there. I think I might have to try to look for a new guest. That guest, just so you know, that was would have been CS188, and I know he's kind of fallen out of the YTP community, so I don't know if that's just kind of what's going on. He just decided he wasn't interested or what, but I don't know. We'll find somebody else. But before we do that, we do want to get new microphones before we go into the second season. That's kind of what's the main thing that's been pushing this back, is trying to figure out what to do with microphones. And when I get a new microphone, obviously we're going to get 2 new microphones, one for me, one for Logan, and we don't want to get just like one step above the microphones we're already using, right? Like this microphone is like a $20 microphone, I think, and we're not going to get just like a $30 microphone or whatever. We want to get good professional quality microphones that we won't have to upgrade, that we'll also be able to use for our own channels. Like if I had the microphones and I'd be using it for this update. But I did a little research, talked to Things1 to ask him what microphone he used for his episode and for, I guess, his videos on his channel as well. And looking it up, that's for 2 microphones, that's like $300, which, it's not exactly cheap, but it's not super expensive either. That is 2 microphones. But me and Logan are currently putting our money towards going to Shrek Fest in September, so we don't really have the money to get the microphones at the moment. So one of the ideas I have is to do a GoFundMe or something like that to see if we can get. I really doubt we'd be able to get $300 from a GoFundMe for Poopcast, but I kind of feel like we might be able to at least fund enough for maybe 1 microphone, or maybe enough to get a good amount of the way to 1 microphone or something like that. At the very least, it could help. So I think I might do that. If we do that, I should probably get the GoFundMe thing set up, and then the video for it up within like the next few days or whatever. Because I do want to bring Poopcast back before like the end of the summer. But yeah, I don't know. You can let me know in the comments if you think that'd be a good idea or not. But I asked people on Twitter, and I didn't get a huge response, but it seemed like people seemed to think that would be an okay plan. At the very least, it would kind of get the ball rolling for season 2. And another thing I want to mention briefly is, if you remember last year, I tried to do like a review type of thing, like a PBG, JonTron, Nostalgia Critic, whatever type of video review of a movie last Halloween. I don't know if I specified it was Halloween, but I did now. And that fell through because I didn't really know what I was doing. I think I want to try to do that again this year. If there's any interest at all, well, I mean, even if there isn't any interest, I'll probably still do it, unless people just really, really don't want to see that. But I think I have a better idea of what to do now, and I've seen, like, the Things1 did the, he did the Luke at This thing, so I think it's seeing other YouTube poopers do a similar thing that that I plan to do. I think that kind of helped with motivation, and I do really want to try to do that again this year. I hope I can get it done this year. But I probably won't make an update about that. I probably won't take a break from YTP just so I can work on that or whatever. I'll probably just make it, or try to make it, and if it doesn't happen, then nobody's going to be disappointed. But anyway, I just figured I'd throw that out there. And I have another idea for a series that I could do on this channel. At this point, it's just a very half-baked idea that I'm just kind of kicking around. I don't know for sure if I'd even do that, so I'm not going to mention specifically what it is. But I think it could be a lot of fun. But anyway, this is all just to say that It's not that I'm not doing anything at the moment. I just have so much on my plate that I'm just kind of doing a little bit here, a little bit there, and that's just kind of how I work. I tend to do multiple projects all at once and work, like I said, a little bit on each project here and there, and then all of a sudden I just have like a month where I have like 5 YouTube poops or YTPMBs or whatever, 5 projects that are just like done all in a month or something like that. So if you haven't noticed, that's kind of how I work. But I just figured I'd let you guys know what's going on. Like I said, the main thing I wanted to talk about with this was the Patreon thing, but I did want to cover these other topics while I was here. Hopefully this was not mind-numbingly annoying or boring to listen to. It was 25 minutes long. It's way longer than it should have been, way longer than the last 2 that I recorded, so sorry about that. But at least this time the birds weren't yelling in the background, so that's nice. But anyway, if you have any questions, if there was anything that I didn't really clear up all that well, or you just have other questions in general, just feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll get back to you whenever I see it. So, anyway, I should probably go get back to work on animating Shrek.